Hi, this video is all about the specific memorization technique that I prefer. In the book Habits of Grace by Dave Mathis, there's an analogy given. Both raking leaves and digging for diamonds are valuable activities. One is super easy, gets done quickly, and covers a big area. It has noticeable differences quickly. The other is of even greater value, but you don't see the benefits until after you've put in a lot of back-breaking work. So if you want to get rid of leaves, and you absolutely should because you can't have leaves in your yard, you've got to get out the rake and do some raking, some big memorization, if you will, some larger sections. But if you really want to get the diamonds that are there in the scriptures, then you've got to take time eventually to break out your shovel, sit down, and break your back, and get to work on some of those shorter passages, going over them over and over and over again, really digging deeply to unearth the treasure that's there. So mix it up. Perhaps you spend a month or so memorizing an entire chapter, or perhaps you spend just a few weeks on a single paragraph from 1 John. Or perhaps you spend a month working on a single verse, memorizing it and meditating on it day after day. Here's a tip. If you've got a Bible where the paragraph breaks are prominent enough for you to see them clearly, try using those to decide which passages to memorize. They form logical chunks of the author's thought. Remember that chapter breaks are very artificial. They weren't in the original manuscripts, they came along later. And so using those paragraph breaks instead of the chapter breaks can be a better way to decide what to memorize. Okay, so you found time, you've picked a passage, and now you're ready to get to work. How do you actually memorize? This is the technique that I prefer. Firstly, write out the text of the passage on your phone in Google Docs. That way you can read the text no matter where you go. You don't have to use Google Docs. Just put it somewhere on your phone so that you're able to have the passage with you wherever you go. You can even use sticky notes or whatever device that you keep with you regularly. The point is to have the passage with you at all times. Then, once you've written out the passage, divide it up into little chunks and label them. So if you're memorizing Galatians chapter 6, you can call the first chapter, the first paragraph, Galatians chapter 1, verses 1 through 6. The second little chunk might be called Galatians chapter 1, verses 7 through 10. Next, record each little chunk of the passage separately on a free app on your phone. The app I like to use is called Easy Recorder. I like it because it's simple and it's free. Next, at an appointed time each day, appointed in the sense that you picked it. I'm not talking about receiving extracurricular revelation about a prophetic time at which you're supposed to study. At an appointed time, go to the first little audio recording, and while looking at the passage written out on your phone, listen to the first little chunk, reading along with it as you listen. Read the chunk a few times and try and say it along with the recording. Keep repeating that process until you're able to speak along with the recording without looking at your screen. Feel free at any time to stop and simply think about what the passage is about. Remember, the entire point is to get distracted by the author. Don't worry about making progress quickly. I recommend setting a time limit, say about 5 minutes a day. Consider setting an alarm or adding this to your electronic calendar. Don't be surprised and don't be disappointed when you don't have the passage mastered within the first session. Here's an important thing. At the end of each 5-minute section, save a few moments just for simple, pure meditation. No repetition necessary, you're just thinking about the passage. As you meditate, take that meditation and transition into prayer right at the end, and allow what you've been thinking about to inform what you speak about to God. Speak to Him based on what He's spoken to you in the passage and through the recording. Never forget, you're spending time with His words. But eventually, the day will come when you're able to say the passage without looking at your screen along with the recording. When that happens, move on to chunk number 2. As you work through the various bits and pieces of the chapter or book, or whatever the case may be, periodically go back to the earlier bits and recite them. That'll help keep them fresh. Consider starting each 5-minute session with a rehearsal of what you've already memorized in the section that you're trying to master. After that, get working on whatever the new bit is for that day. The final process will look something like this. Number 1, schedule 5 to 10 minutes daily or every other day. Number 2, write out the passage on your phone or somewhere where you can read it easily. Number 3, divide the passage into sections. Step number 4, record each little chunk separately on your phone. Step 5, start each memorization session by rehearsing what you already know. Step number 6, don't feel like you have to memorize a new section each day. Step number 7, save time for meditation and then meditation-informed prayer at the end. Thank you very much for spending some time with me, and I hope that this video is helpful for you as you seek to memorize God's Word so that it can edify your soul. God bless. Hi, today we're going to talk about a 7-step method for memorizing the Scriptures. Step number 1, schedule 5 to 10 minutes for memorization every day or every other day. Step 2, write out the passage on your phone or someplace where you can read it easily. Step number 3, divide the passage into sections and label them. Step 4, record each section on your phone using a free app. Step number 5, start each memorization session by reading along with your recording using what's written on your phone. Step number 6, rehearse the latest chunk that you're trying to memorize every time you pick up your phone to start memorizing, but don't feel like you have to have a new paragraph memorized every single day. Step number 7, save time for reflection, prayer, and meditation at the end. Let the reflection lead into the meditation, and let the meditation lead into the prayer.